This is Arma 4. Oh, it's not. This is Arma Reforger, Bohemia's attempt to bring out, well, something to keep people from raging and going with flaming torches to their studios asking where Arma 4 actually is. Arma Reforger was released kind of out of nowhere. There wasn't all that much warning. There were some leaks and hints before, but Bohemia just sort of said, hey, have it. But what actually is it? Well, this is my first time playing it, but I've done a fair bit of research on this title. Essentially, Bohemia do want to release Arma 4 at some point. They have said that it's definitely in the works and it will come. However, it's not ready just yet. So for now, this is what we have, Arma Reforger. As you can see, it looks like Arma, but there are quite a lot of differences. It feels a bit different as well. All right, come you down. These new animations and mechanics are not just a coincidence. This is on an entirely new engine, and I think this was the main point of what really Bohemia wanted to get across here. Arma Reforger is more of a tech demo, testing everything like this big new engine, ready for when Arma 4 eventually comes out. There's just one problem. It's $30. Great.
I can't hear you, mate.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how to use all this stuff. This is my first time playing it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
So here we are within the multiplayer. This is the new inventory system. It looks pretty good, much easier to use than things like, well, especially Arma 2, but even though Arma 3 did improve it, there was still some to be left aside. He doesn't want to drive, but nor do I really. All right, lads, let's go. Now, there's so much more to playing this game for simple things like driving vehicles. Using interact buttons is much easier than using the scroll wheel like we've become used to in Arma. Look at these lads wandering about. And the handling of vehicles is much more realistic and more fun in the first place. Arma always had those issues, and that's one of the main principles of Arma Reforger, is trying to fix all the things that the other Armas didn't quite get right because of that limited engine. Oh, looks like we're stopping. Oh, you know, he's just checking his map. Speaking of checking his map, where are we?
Let's go for Alaska.
I agree. Let's go for Alaska. Have you guys got your angry faces on, ready to scare anybody?
I'm black. I'm scary. Just gotta look in the mirror.
Oh, I'm sorry. It must be hard.
Yeah, even after all these years, I'm still scared of mirrors.
Is that just an ugly thing, or are you a vampire or something like that?
Nah, just ugly.
Ah, well, I think you're beautiful.
Oh my dear.
It looks like in terms of actual server connection, it's still just as laggy as Arma ever was, which is, you know, to be expected. One of the weird things that I'm finding is that whilst it is better optimized, and don't get me wrong, it kind of is, however, I don't know if it's better looking than what Arma 3 was. Arma 3 is a great looking game, even now, almost 10 years later, and Arma Reforger doesn't seem to be doing all that much for improving graphics. While that isn't exactly one of the most important things in the world, it's still something you've got to wonder about. What are the big changes? What are they actually doing to separate this game from the last titles? Alright, what have we got up ahead? It seems like we've got a little compound here. Can we see this on the map? I'm going to stick with these guys.
There's a base back there.
Now, unfortunately, from what I've been seeing, the reviews are rather mixed on this, mostly down to the lack of content. As I mentioned, it is $30, but there isn't all that much apart from a couple game modes. And, wow, a small selection of weapons and vehicles. Looks like they've actually turned off third-person mode on this server, which is fine, I guess. Going more hardcore style. Right, looks like we're going to be moving in here if we can find a breach in this fence.
Alpha Main to all stations. Update, we just lost Point Louisiana. Out.
One thing I have heard is that the gunplay has very much improved from previous Arma. Although I don't have the highest of hopes, especially with this guy glitching about a lot, how easy it's going to be to actually shoot people. The map is also on a similar scale. We're going back to that 51 kilometers squared, so they are not cheaping out on this. However, I feel like this is going to be the map that will be used for Arma 4 as well, so I doubt it has been specifically made for this. Of course, this was the same map that came in with the first Arma, when it had a completely different name back in the day. There is something to be said about the game master levels, though. That is included in the game, and whilst we did have Zeus in previous installments of Arma, this is a similar thing, but as far as I'm aware, isn't quite as in-depth. But you are able to put it in multiplayer scenarios, and these guys will, well, fight. I wonder how they'll fare against a sniper squad in the distance. Oh, they have been spotted. Sniper is taking pot shots. He should have the advantage at this kind of range, although there is a lot more of these laddies. The atmosphere is still very Arma, as you'd probably expect. There isn't all that much different there. They're still trying to create this experience that is hardcore and simulation style. I feel like, however, with Reforger, they're trying to lean into a more accessible version of it, because Arma has always been fantastic, but accessible to a massive audience, not exactly. Not just with the way it runs, but also the gameplay style. The simulator has become so renowned with Arma, yet there are way more opportunities for more close-knit and even potentially arcadey game modes. That might not go down well with some people like the core fan base, but it might bring others in. Of course, as you'd expect, you can jump in whilst you're using the editor as well and have a little bit of fun. Excuse me, sirs. How are you? How are you? Nice day. Yep. I managed to get great flanking moves on you. That definitely wasn't because I can fly and teleport. Uh-oh. I have been spotted. Scott, come and save me, please, sir. Thank you, Scott. Scottman. Oh no, they've blown up my truck that I put down. That's not very nice. You know what? I kind of take back what I said about the game's graphics. I think it looks actually pretty beautiful in the right light. So, how will Arma Reforger fare in the long run? As I've said, the responses have already been pretty mixed. I think that's mostly down to the $30 price tag for a game that isn't exactly, well, worth $30 at this point in time. Will that change? Well, Bohemia have said that they're going to give it 12 months of proper support. It might go on longer if it's a success, but I very much doubt it. In that 12 months, I think we're going to see a lot more updates and, of course, the addition of tanks and jets, which aren't in the game, unfortunately, at the moment. But in that 12 months, I think we'll also see an announcement for Arma 4, which this is all leading towards. However, this is a completely standalone experience to Arma 4. If you own this, you will not get Arma 4 with it. That's a completely different game that you'll have to buy, which I think will rub people up the wrong way. But I guess time can only tell for Arma Reforger. I think it's a very positive spin, and it's giving us some really good ideas of what we can expect from the next iteration in the Arma franchise. But how successful it's going to be? Well, I guess that's just down to content and whether they keep it at that $30 price tag, which definitely isn't cheap. Excuse me, son. I'd like to talk to you about Jesus. Why am I playing with AI, you might be asking? Well, because there aren't all that many servers, and the ones that are just as fun as always. I genuinely thought this game was going to look a lot worse when I loaded it up. I thought I was going to notice the graphical changes way more, but it's not that bad. I mean, Source kind of has this longer-lasting style. Bloody hell, man. Yet still, Sandstorm looks gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but the first one still kind of holds up, visually at least, and mechanically it's still just as sound as ever. The gunplay in this is fantastic. It always has been and it always will be, and it was laying the groundwork for